Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a truly fascinating religious studies analysis that pretty much flips conventional theology completely upside down. We're going to look at a modern academic study that takes a contemporary evangelical text and completely deconstructs it. And it does this using an ancient, highly unorthodox historical lens. It's just a totally striking exercise in seeing how the exact same concepts can mean absolute opposites, entirely depending on the framework you use.
So ask yourself this: is human goodness actually an obstacle to salvation? I know, on the surface that sounds entirely counterintuitive, right? We generally associate religion with, well, being a good person and promoting moral behavior. But the primary text we're analyzing today, which the study simply refers to as the artifact, makes a really specific, highly controversial claim about the absolute danger of simply being a good person.
Okay, let's dive into this because the artifact explicitly warns against what it calls Satan's deception. And according to this text, that deception is the belief that living a moral, upstanding life is somehow enough for salvation. It essentially claims that human goodness, when it isn't strictly tethered to religious surrender, is basically a false idol. It's a radical premise for sure, and it shapes how millions of people view their neighbors. So we're going to explore exactly how an academic mind unpacks the whole thing. To navigate all of this, we've got a clear roadmap today. We'll start with morality as a demonic trap, introduce the lens of ancient gnosis, compare God to the cruel demiurge, look at Christ as an awakening instead of a sacrifice, explore goodness as a divine spark, and finally, weigh obedience versus knowledge.
Section 1. Morality as a demonic trap. Let's look at the foundational argument of this evangelical text impartially to really understand the mechanics of its theology.
So the core of the artifact is rooted in what's called radical sola fideism. Basically, that's the theological concept of salvation through faith and faith alone. According to the specific text, trying to be good on your own terms, that is the ultimate deception. Human goodness is viewed as a false idol that literally distracts you from the real requirement, absolute surrender to Christ and the acceptance of a specific blood sacrifice. In this framework, an atheist, a person of another faith, and even a highly moral Christian who just relies on their own good deeds, well, they all face the exact same fate: eternal separation from God. Morality cannot save you. Only the blood sacrifice can. Moving right along to Section 2, the lens of ancient gnosis. Now, let's bring in the mirror, the ancient framework the study's author uses to totally flip the script on this evangelical theology. Now, what's really interesting about this is our hermeneutic key for the analysis. Barbelo Gnosticism. This is a pretty prominent stream of early Christian Gnosticism. In this tradition, the focus isn't on a punishing deity at all. Instead, it's on the ineffable Father of the realm of light, often called the Pleroma, and Barbelo, the first emanation or divine mother. The central goal here is fundamentally different from mainstream theology. It is entirely 100% focused on spiritual awakening and knowledge, rather than dogmatic blind faith.
But to really grasp the Gnostic view, we have to talk about their concept of the demiurge, sometimes known as Yaldabaoth. In Gnostic cosmology, the being who created the physical, material world we live in, he's actually not the true highest God. Actually, scratch that. He's more like a lower, flawed, and incredibly arrogant creator who emerged as a cosmic anomaly. The demiurge rules the physical realm through really strict laws, demands sacrifices, and controls humanity through fear and the requirement of absolute blind obedience.
Which perfectly sets up Section 3, God or the cruel demiurge. With our terms clearly defined, let's look at our first major point of friction. Let's put these two frameworks side by side. The artifact operates with a God who demands absolute surrender, is fully capable of eternal wrath, and specifically requires a transactional blood sacrifice. But from the perspective of Barbelo Gnosticism, this description just doesn't match the true, ineffable Father of light. A Gnostic interpreter reading this evangelical text would immediately look at its God of wrath and say, hey, that's the demiurge, a flawed ruler who uses fear, demands blood, and requires blind obedience. The study suggests the evangelical text is, essentially, albeit unknowingly, empowering the rulers of matter rather than the true God. Section 4, Christ, awakening instead of sacrifice. Here, we're going to shift our analytical focus away from the Creator and over to the Savior. And this brilliantly illustrates our second massive point of theological conflict. You see, the artifacts views Christ as a tool of substitutionary sacrifice. Basically, he was sent to suffer and shed blood to satisfy the intense wrath of an angry creator, framing any rejection of this as the ultimate, unforgivable sin. Conversely, Babylonian Gnostic Christology views Christ not as a sacrificial lamb, but as an aeon, a divine spiritual being sent down from the true realm of light. His mission isn't to appease a creator's wrath, his mission is to bring knowledge. And this knowledge, that's what's known as gnosis. In this heterodox framework, salvation isn't some transaction where a debt is suddenly forgiven. It's ontological. It's a profound, literal awakening from what Gnostics call cosmic amnesia. It is the process of a human being finally remembering that they have a divine spark, called pneuma, trapped inside them, directly from the realm of light. So, to a Gnostic, surrendering to the dogmas of the artifact wouldn't actually save you. It would plunge you even deeper into the sleep of ignorance.
All right, Section 5, Goodness as a Divine Spark. This addresses that wildly controversial claim from our introduction. Is goodness a trap or a divine spark?
Remember, the artifact claims that natural human goodness without religious faith is a satanic trap, a false idol. But the Gnostic analysis flips this entirely on its head. From the Gnostic angle, natural compassion, selfless love, and moral actions done without expecting some post-mortem reward, those are the actual manifestations of that trapped divine spark. When a person shows kindness, they aren't falling for Satan's trick. In fact, Satan is just another tool of the demiurge anyway, keeping the material world locked in duality. Rather, a person doing good is demonstrating their inner essence resonating with the true harmony of the realm of light. The goodness itself is proof of the divine spirit, a spirit that rigid dogmatism actually tries to suppress by demanding blind obedience. Finally, Section 6, Obedience versus Knowledge. Let's synthesize everything we've just unpacked today.
So the crucial point is, when you lay it all out, a super stark thesis and antithesis emerge. The Orthodox artifact sees a god of wrath, a savior defined by blood sacrifice, and human morality as a satanic trap. The Gnostic lens views that exact same god as the flawed demiurge, the savior as a bringer of spiritual awakening, and human morality as the resonance of a divine spark. It's like looking at the exact same picture through two totally different pairs of glasses.
What this study ultimately reveals is a profound, almost dizzying paradox in Christian thought. What the evangelical current considers the sole path to salvation, embracing blood sacrifice and discarding personal goodness, the ancient Gnostic tradition reads as the absolute triumph of an illusion. While the author of the artifact sincerely believes they are warning people away from Satan, the academic Gnostic framework suggests they are actually acting as a spokesperson for the archons. They're keeping people terrified of a punishing God, devaluing their inner light and compassion, and replacing actual spiritual awakening with a system of blind submission built entirely on suffering. It's just a fascinating microcosm of an ancient, ongoing theological dispute. We see the religion of obedience completely, fundamentally at odds with the religion of knowledge. And it leaves us with this profound philosophical question: does blind obedience or inner knowledge lead to salvation? The way you answer that depends entirely on the lens through which you view the world, and honestly, it dictates how you judge the goodness of the people around you. I really hope this explainer gives you a fresh, structured way to look at how history, theology, and human morality intersect. Thank you so much for joining me. Keep questioning the frameworks around you, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.